Hello, my name is Christine Ariel. Welcome to Westminster Unitarian Church. I will be your worship partner today, posted in the chat. The chalice is the symbol of our faith, and our chalice lighting marks the beginning of our worship service. I will light mine and share our reading, and then I invite you to light yours if you have one. And if you like, you can use the chat to post the name of the street where that chalice was lit. The flame of our chalice this morning is a symbol of the warmth and brightness of our connections. The flame lights our way back together again from our separate lives, and it lights our way forward into this new year of promise and renewal.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ellen Quaadgras. I am the minister here, and I am really glad to be with you this morning, but in my own home, you will see, avoiding the roads on this beautiful, crazy, snowy morning where we can really tell it's January. And January is the time of resolutions, which often can feel like having to live up to some kind of perfect ideal our culture tells us we're supposed to live up to. But this month, we're focusing on intention, which is more about who we are discovered from the inside out rather than told from the outside in. So this morning, let us reflect on the power inside that uncovering of the real you. Let's go deeper into worship with these words adapted from Reverend Gretchen Haley. Though you have been warned and given plenty of explanations and reasons to do otherwise, you have persisted to claim a life of joy and justice, and to carve out this time for the renewal of your own heart. Despite the din demanding your attention, luring you toward someone else's ideal or toward fear and cynicism. Despite all the forces that pull us apart, or all the ways we sometimes fail each other or fail ourselves. We must refuse to let grief undo us or let our dreams get lost along the way. Let us persist with gratitude for this day, for this life that has been given. Let us take this wide open opportunity to begin again today. Let us join in our opening hymn, Come, Come, Whoever You Are.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living, artist, no
Let us join together for our unison affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is our mission. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And we'll go right into the joys and sorrows this morning. And this morning I will share the opening. We do have a pastoral care team now, and if you would like to talk to someone about something going in your life, their contact information as well as contact information for me are being posted in the chat. And now, as we gather in community, we recognize that we carry life's hurts as well as its great joys. I'd like to begin our time of prayer and meditation with these words adapted from beloved spiritual leader who just left this earth, Thich Nhat Hanh. Home is not exactly located in space and time. Everywhere you go, you can find your true home. This is the first fruit of your practice. If you practice well, you can arrive home with every breath and every movement. Many of us have been able to realize this. We feel comfortable in our true home. Every breath and every movement can bring us to our true home. Please join me in finding a moment of stillness, a return to mindful breathing, breath that holds our gratitude for all our teachers, whoever they may be for us. Deepening breath that holds the space of our growth and continuation, filling our bodies with the breath of life now. Breathing out love and compassion to all beings. Let us notice our breath, which holds our grief, our breath, which holds our joys, our breath that holds our love that lives on in our hearts. I invite you to continue noticing your breath, connecting with whatever grief is in you, as well as whatever joy and love are in you during our song in response meditation on breathing.
I'll breathe
Here at Westminster, we share our offering every month with a different organization that shares our values or our mission. As the cold winter season begins, our Share the Plate recipient for January is the Rhode Island Coalition to End Homelessness. They are a statewide nonprofit pursuing comprehensive and cooperative solutions to end homelessness. Coalition programs and activities include homeless management information system administration, coordinated placement, barrier busting, homeless legal clinic, research, training, and policy analysis and advocacy at the local, state, and federal levels. The other half of the offering goes to support all the other good work of this community. You can donate using the link that is now being put in the chat. The offering will now be given and received with gratitude. Our reading this morning is by David White, The Winter of Listening. No one but me by the fire, my hands burning red in the palms, while the night wind carries everything away outside. All this petty worry, while the great cloak of the sky grows dark and intense round every living thing. What is precious inside us does not care to be known by the mind in ways that diminish its presence. What we strive for in perfection is not what turns us into the lit angel we desire. What disturbs and then nourishes has everything we need. What we hate in ourselves is what we cannot know in ourselves. But what is true to the pattern does not need to be explained. Inside everyone is a great shout of joy waiting to be born. Even with the summer so far off, I feel it grown in me now and ready to arrive in the world. All those years listening to those who had nothing to say, all those years forgetting how everything has its own voice to make itself heard. All those years forgetting how easily you can belong to everything simply by listening. And the slow difficulty of remembering how everything is born from an opposite and miraculous otherness. Silence and winter has led me to that otherness. So let this winter of listening be enough for the new life I must call my own.
I have taken lately to calling myself a recovering perfectionist. For years, I was an unrelenting perfectionist, fully invested in doing everything as well as I possibly could. No matter what the cost to me or anyone else, the product was the answer, and creating something that appeared perfect was so satisfying. It has taken me a long, long time to even begin to want to let that go. And yet, I know in my heart it limits me, distorts my thinking, and distracts me from what matters most. So I've been practicing giving it up in my emails, for example, which I write a lot of. In fact, I had this great idea to include a typo in every one of my emails for the month of January. Now, if you haven't noticed a typo in every one of the emails from January, I will tell you why. I was a little too perfectionistic about my mistakes. That one would be too big. That one would be too obvious. That one would make the email too hard to understand. And then there were the feelings. How will I look? They'll think I'm losing it. They'll think I'm slacking off, not paying attention, or just generally think ill of me. I did ultimately include a few extra capitals, an extra letter here or there, or deleted a space, but mostly I found myself stymied by a bunch of feelings that are, I realized, frankly, running my life. And when I first reread that, I thought it was a typo, and I read big feelings that are ruining my life. But even if you yourself are not a perfectionist, the perfectionism in our society, the expectation that we will all live up to some ideal, it can be hard on all of us. There is a wonderful story I heard through The Moth told by Diane Castile, a woman whose sister, as she put it, had been caressed by the hand of fate. She married into money so she could buy anything she wanted, but she also won everything or would have it bequeathed to her. Diane's sister would methodically plot out her life, and somehow that actually worked for her. Diane's sister's life was perfect, as opposed to Diane's own life, which she said felt like a series of rough drafts. So they drifted apart until they had kids. Her sister had twins, while Diane, as she put it, had just the one. And for a while, things were better. But soon Diane discovered that perfect people have perfect children. Her sister's daughters, tested as gifted, were the star athletes for every sport they went out for, really talented artists, you name it. Meanwhile, Diane's own daughter was racking up labels of her own: ADD, OCD, mood disorder, you name it. This was hard. School is a nightmare, extracurricular activities out of the question, but the hardest was the social isolation, and there's very little a parent can do about that. The year all three girls were set to graduate from junior high school, Diane's sister sent out an email in February asking everyone to hold the date for their graduation. You know, like you do for weddings. It read as follows: please hold June 10th for Amber and Tiffany's graduation from junior high school. In their 3 years there, they've made the dean's list every single semester. They've participated in sports year-round, usually as captain, sometimes juggling more than one at a time. This year, they took on the additional challenge of being confirmed at our church. And through it all, they've maintained a large group of the right friends who share their same values. Now, I love my nieces, Diane said, and I am so proud of them. And I thought, we cannot go to this party. It's just going to be a list of their achievements and awards and full of their friends, and my daughter will not be able to handle it. And of course, neither will I, she said. So when it came, she threw that invitation into the recycling bin. She never told anyone about this. After all, she said, what kind of person boycotts a child's party? As luck would have it, her daughter found it, showed it to her, and asked about it. Quickly, Diane made up an excuse that the family had planned to go to the beach that day, so unfortunately, they wouldn't be able to go. Now, Diane's daughter hates the beach, she said, and was at the age where she would argue with everything Diane suggested. But that day, her daughter just looked at her and didn't say a word in protest. The day of the party arrived, and it was lousy, overcast, rainy, and cold. So her husband and her other kids were like, we're not going. But her daughter, who remember hates the beach, got up early, got food together, pulled out the beach stuff, even packed the car. They got there, and the weather was even worse, but they pulled everything out, the beach blanket, sat down, and watched Lake Michigan. Diane thought her daughter would retreat into her iPod, but to her surprise, her daughter sat down and curled up against her. She was almost a full-grown woman at 14, and she was practically in Diane's arms. And they just sat there and watched the water until it started to rain, and then they sat some more. Diane said she imagined they were both thinking the same thing, that this has got to stop. And that's where that story ends, with that visual of the two of them gazing out over the water into the distance together. Sidestepping the weight of those expectations we are all breathing in all the time, it is possible to open a little window into something else, a little space for grace to surface. A wake up of the heart, a reminder of what really matters. And a reminder that sometimes those least likely to be voted most popular are most likely to lead us somewhere important. I've always been shocked and surprised by Bible characters who get chosen for important roles, who are blessed and rewarded, but who, by today's standards, are definitely not crossing their T's or dotting their I's. In fact, some of them are downright problematic. I talked about Jacob last fall, the heel-grabbing, lying, thieving, stealing character who God nevertheless selected to be the patriarch of a nation. Or there's Moses, who couldn't speak right. He said to God, "Don't pick me." But he was chosen anyway to lead his whole nation of people. His brother would do the talking. Moving into the Christian Bible, there are Jesus's disciples who are constantly confused, getting things wrong, and disappointing their great teacher. And yet, there they are, center stage in the most sacred Christian text of all time. These highly imperfect people are the ones God chooses to speak to and speak through. And by the way, I've noticed God doesn't perfect them before God sends them into action. No nips, tucks, speech lessons, or self-improvement programs for these folks. They heard a call and they just answered. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King picked up on this and preached it. Everybody can be great, he said, because everybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve, he said. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. We can get so caught up in making ourselves better, we can forget what we want to make ourselves better for. And the reality is, it matters so much less who you are, what you look like, or where you struggle, than where you're going and why it matters. At a recent board meeting, as we were looking at the hard budget questions before the congregation, someone asked a startling, provocative question. What are we here for anyway? Why does it matter? I mean, why do we care? It's a question I think many people are asking themselves in this pandemic-informed era. What am I doing? Why does it matter about any of the things I'm involved in? The long winter of COVID has carried much away, and it has reminded us that life is precious and put a spotlight on places where it hasn't felt that way, where we're doing what we're doing because someone told us to, because it looks good, or because we think we should. We've started seeing places where we've been living by rote rather than living by heart, and we don't want to do that anymore. Instead, people have begun to ask deep, big questions about purpose and meaning. Questions about how to bridge the apparently unbridgeable differences in our society. Big, fresh questions about race and racism, equity and justice and inclusion. Questions about what a worthy life actually is, what it looks like, what it feels like, and how to live it from the inside out. At that same difficult board meeting I mentioned, I found myself paying attention not just to the words people said, but to the intentions behind them, to the places people were coming from, to what I was seeing under the surface, as well as on it. Here's someone modeling humility and perseverance in the face of difficulty. Here's someone speaking eloquently about commitment and demonstrating it in their life. Here's someone modeling honesty, creating more space for everyone in the room. Here's someone reminding us just how much care and love went into that budget drive by those who ran it, and by person after person after person who gave to it. Here's someone asking powerful questions. Here's someone with encouraging words. Here's someone showing respect. There's appreciation. There's persistence. There's warmth. And there, right there, again, I see kindness and heart and grace. All of which reminds me that sometimes it is in the imperfect times, the less than ideal situations, that grace and heart show up the most. I found myself in seeing all this, thinking that at our best, church is a place to grow a soul. And that happens when we bring all of ourselves, the best parts and the rest of our parts, in good times and bad. It happens when we drop the invitation to be perfect into the recycling bin and instead create space to be real and true and present and kind. And it happens when we help each other answer those big questions, not just with our heads, but with our lives and our actions and our hearts. Why does it matter what we do here? I think spiritual communities like this one are crucial, life-saving institutions, grounding forces in increasingly unsteady times. A safety net, a force for transformation, a place to nourish ourselves and stretch ourselves and struggle together and help each other to finally become that lit angel we desire, as the poet put it. And to do that, To really do that, I think spiritual communities like this one will need to connect and reconnect and connect again with what matters most, to that which is calling each of us deep in our hearts, to that which calls us to others, to an opposite and miraculous otherness, to that which disturbs and then nourishes. The world is listening in new ways to those on the margins, waking up to big, hard questions about race, about injustice, about what matters. And we get to keep waking up with it. And we get to keep trying things in service of that waking up, even if we don't think we'll do them exactly, quote, right, even if we don't know exactly where they will lead. One of those things we'll be trying is a visioning service, which the board and I have been planning and to which you are all invited, rescheduled to March 13th. You'll hear more about that in the coming weeks. It will be a chance to mine the past for what is essential here, for who you are and what you care about and what has mattered looking back 10, 20, 50 years. And this will be a chance to begin to imagine what will help make this place a crucial, life-saving, and transformational place for the next 50 or 500. God chose to speak to and through regular, imperfect people. They heard a call and they just answered. What do you hear? Let us join together for our closing hymn, Oh Yeah Yeah.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be mighty and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah yeah, oh yeah yeah, oh yeah yeah, oh yeah yeah. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah yeah, 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 oh yeah yeah.
Though you have been given plenty of reason to do otherwise, you have persisted to claim a life of joy and justice. We must refuse to let our dreams get lost along the way. Inside everyone is a great shout of joy waiting to be born. May we take the wide open opportunity of this day to claim the ever new life that each of us gets to call our own. Amen. Let us join for our closing song, Carry the Flame. Amen.